establishment and implementation of a national register of vulnerable persons with the aim to significantly improve how the government identifies and targets the poor and vulnerable in society. You hear people speak all the time and ask, how do we know who's vulnerable, who poor? How do we get onto these people? How do we find them?
Distant lands, our forefathers came, some seeking adventure, some bound in chains, through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. Those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun. We vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your courage.
Welcome brothers, welcome sisters, welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you could pick up the telephone and give us a call. Today is a significant day in our life, October 19. And we in the month of October. And I don't know if you ever hear about the book, The Red Doe. But if you're from St. Joseph Convent, Grenville, that was the author of The Red Doe used to go to St. Joseph Convent. It's a good book. St. Joseph says all his school children. And if you ever went to convent, you should read that book. The sister who wrote the book from Paul's, she from Moya, Dunfermline, Congo-Tongue, Homan, and Blaise. She mothered the poor like church mice. The parents suck salt, and they pound gugu, but they make certain that children was educated. These poor people had a hunger for education like no other. And they ensure that a daughter went to school and get a good education. And she reached the highest level in academia. But she had not lost the fact that she from Paul's and Moya and Congo-Tongue and Blaise and Homan and Dunfermline. Maken, you know the sister good. Sister Rita Joseph. She wrote the book, The Red Doe. It's a good book, convent children. And anybody who went to convent school, we must be proud of her. She wrote the book, The Red Doe. Read it. It's a good book. And this is October 19, a significant time in the history of Grenada. So you could pick up the telephone and give us a call on any matter, particularly on Grenada, the issues of Grenada. October is also the month of the child. Parents must make certain that your child is well educated, multi-skilled, multi-talented, and endowed with the characteristic that gives them the competitive edge. This is the problem. You don't hear government firing no doctors or no nurses or no teachers. They're not firing them. They can't fire them. These people have a good chance in the market. They're going after the weaker ones, those that are struggling in the marketplace. And this is why it's important for you to have a hunger for education. A child is a gift from God, irrespective of the circumstances under which you had the child. But the child is a gift. You know, people like us against abortion. The population in Grenada has not risen in the last 100 years. And all our politicians, maybe they are afraid, but the public too, to open up our doors to help to increase our population. But this is October. October 19 is also the month of the Rosary. So Catholic, Christians, Anglican, Lutherans, Methodists, they are encouraged to pray the Rosary every day. Pray with your children. A lot of the conflicts we have in home is because we're not praying. What you think about a man and a woman who say they fall in love, but afraid to pray together? You know? The man ain't talking nothing about pray. He's afraid if he pray with this woman, he might make a commitment. And the woman don't talking nothing about prayers. She afraid if she pray with the man, she might not hand him. So they sit down fencing one another till they break up. But prayer is powerful. We must pray with the children. We have too much of boys that getting left in the society. All the prisons in the Caribbean, is overpopulated. They overpopulated with people who did not obtain the basic requirement in school. All the prisons. The mental institute filled with our brothers. The streets, and ask the police, number of young men constantly visiting the police station. And not work they're looking for. You know. They come afoul of the law. So parents must learn to pray with your children. But this is October 19. You must have something to say. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Good day, sir.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Historical day.
Yes, man.
I was missing from that point because...
Where were you? Where were you on October 19?
I was in Trinidad.
You hiding in Trinidad?
Yeah, I was hiding in Trinidad.
And your brother was still in jail? Yeah, go ahead.
This morning, I want to congratulate you and Real FM for information. This morning, people call in and say, this is the most informative.
Caller, you're breaking up. Caller, you're breaking up. Caller, you're breaking up.
You me?
Yeah, go ahead.
They're getting a lot of information, a lot of food from your program and MasterCard program, because this morning I realized that the retroactive payment and the permanent pension is two different things. And a lot of people will be disappointed. They thought there was, but a lot of people would not be getting pension. And that is where the problem going to lie. So I want to thank Real FM for a good program, educating the people all over the country, because a lot of people didn't know what's going on. So this radio is not criticizing. You are not criticizing the government. You are educating the people of what is taking place. In my case, I have personal experience of what happened. This government has done something very wrong to me, and I could speak. I have been doing construction in days of the revolution. And the revolution treated me with respect.
Days of the revolution, he was in Trinidad.
Oh,
so after the revolution.
Sorry. 76. Yes. 76, when Bishop, I never had problems. In 2008, I was treated with my contract. I was given a contract. I had a contract. They let me a contract. They wrote me a letter stating that at the end of the contract, I will be paid. Suddenly they just call and say, just give him 9 days. And this is and a man like me who is in the politics.
Caller, you're breaking up. We get the gist of what you're saying, but you're breaking up. Caller, you're breaking up.
Oh, you know?
Yeah, we got you say that they write you a letter, but they decide to give you 9 days pay instead of the month. Isn't it? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So that disrespect.
Caller, you're breaking up. We can't hear you. We're sorry. We get the gist of what you're saying, that you have a contract and they tell you they're going to pay you for 9 days pay, rather than your contract say you should get a month pay, but they say you're going to pay you for 9 days. These are some of the challenges we have. I don't waste time much speaking about the issues with the men, because 60% of our households are led by women. And if the government decide to systematically victimize people, and now it is spreading throughout the country. It started in Karakou, but now you could see they're going around in every creeks and corner and trying to identify people who would have associated with the NNP, and they are getting rid of them in the most despicable manner. I think this challenge is one for the Grenada Trade Union Council to determine who have political work or not. And why do I say that? We should not let that be part of the norm in the country. If after every government comes, you go down to the rank and file and prosecute them, it's going to lead to serious fracture. You're going to sow the seed of discord, and it will be pure hatred. Obviously, this government is not young in age. I think Maurice Bishop was 39 when he had his final demise. So the government is not young. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Afternoon, Sir Pierre.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
And also to the listening public. Mr. Pierre, first and foremost, I want to talk about the blockade on Cuba. It was imposed on 7 February 1962 by President John F. Kennedy. And that has lasted more than 5 decades. Generations of Cubans have suffered its consequence, and its impact has been felt in all sectors of the Cuban society and continues. And to me, it is a frequent violation of human rights convention to the people of Cuba. To me, that is an act of genocide and economic warfare. That is the main obstacle to the development of the people of Cuba. The USA continue to violate the principle of the so-called United Nations Charter and principle of a free trade, of economic, commercial, and financial blockade on the people of Cuba, on the wonderful and kind, loving people of Cuba. Cuba is rich on its needs. increase the mention at current prices by imposing the blockade on trade between the United States and Cuba, but still, the people of Cuba continue to achieve their objectives. Unbearable spirit to resist all pressure of 14 presidents. Sanctions, the unity, perseverance, and dignity of the Cuban people is unbreakable. America is a war-creating empire. 120 countries back them up and recognize they have money, so they must handpick president. Look at what they do in Venezuela. And that includes Caribbean leaders with a mouth weld. They never say what is wrong. Do not do that. And look at how America safeguards the backyard. I remember the missile crisis on Friday, 26 October 1962, when the Russian was coming down. President, he could have a world war. President Kennedy said, turn them back because they was in Cuban water. And if they refuse to turn back, sing them.
Stop them, search them, and sing them.
Sing them, yes. Yeah. Immediately they turn back. But now, why and how is it that they're influencing, the influence in the Middle East? Why the president in Russia cannot tell them not to come? They gather in weapon up there. They stick up there. They want, so all that what make the trigger the war. The trigger in the World War, but to me, you won't fight. I feel they just backing on. That's grudge. That's why we never fight. They will settle that. And I hoping so because the world will be in turmoil. Thank you, sir.
Yes, scholar, thank you. It's an important point that you make. 60 years that Cuba is on the blockade from America. I don't agree with the blockade too, but technically, United States and Cuba is at war. Technically, the United States and Cuba is at war. The war is fought in the form of economic war. And the United States market is so important that it's difficult for Cuba to perform at its best without access to the United States market. Even Russia feeling the pain of the U.S. market. The U.S. is one of the most cosmopolitan countries in the world. They have immigrants from all different nations in the U.S. and they want to go in the U.S. All Grenadian communists gone to the United States of America. All those who was accusing the CIA of interfering in the revolution, it's ironical, it's a paradox. The first opportunity they get, they go to America. United States have about 330 million people. And the United States is a powerful consumer market. So they're one of the biggest buyers in the world. And that's where the strength is. And they have people from all over the world in America. The Japanese market is not as open, neither the Russian market. Russia just have 130 million people. The people of Ukraine, 32 years they're independent. So I do not agree with Russia to invade them. If we find what the United States is doing to Cuba is wrong, then we must prepare to condemn what Russia is doing to Ukraine. But yes, scholar, that is an important point. And we must never forget these things. Because these things contribute to the economic situation in Grenada. And like you, I hope and pray that they find a settlement. I disagree with Mia Mottley and Deacon Mitchell's address in the United Nations. I thought Deacon Mitchell and Mia Mottley, both of them, had an opportunity to show leadership of an international quality. They should have offered suggestions and solutions to solve, to mediate, and to bring both sides to the negotiating table. It's not a question whether it works or not. It's a question, do you have a solution? All the countries in Africa and India and the Latin America have some level of relationship with China and Russia. So they have influence of these countries. And they could have called to mediate in this present situation between Europe and Russia. That's one of the challenges in this world. We do not have mediators. We do not have people that want to speak the truth. Don't sex up the truth. Just speak it as it is. Today in Grenada is October 19. We had a situation in Grenada where two sides, no mediators, no means to settle dispute, and it ended in bloodshed. And we who are visiting it after all these years must give our side of the story as simple and as truthful as possible. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Yes, my sister, welcome.
Hi, Mr. Pierre. How are you?
Great, man.
All is well?
Yes, man. Yeah, good.
Happy Memorial Day to you.
Yes, thank you very much.
I christen it Memorial Day because I do believe that it is.
Yeah.
You mentioned something there about sexing up the truth and giving our stories, and that's why I called. Because there is a sexing up of the truth, and there is a romanticizing of this period in our history that we really need to unpack and be truthful about. There are many good things that happen. There are many bad things that happen. And there are some ruthless things that happen that probably should never, ever happen again. And they all fall within that period that we have to embrace. But we seem to want to whitewash the period and so on. And it was a concerted effort because, right after the invasion of the country, efforts were made to kind of do things to make us forget that we had a revolution. All our machinery at the agro-industrial plant was sent to Dominica. We started to move away from the things people knew. Anything that was, progressive, or, so to speak, in terms of what they did and what the Revo did that was good, seemed to. We still have some of the bastions of the goodness with us, like the International Airport. We cannot separate that from them. The National Insurance Scheme, maternity leave, the real free education. We can't get away from those things that were really, truly good. Picture Grenada without an international airport. And when Maurice Bishop said it was the gateway to the world, he was absolutely correct, because that it has been. But how could we take away the over 3,000 people who were jailed because they dared to oppose, or even if they even seemed to oppose? Because it became a time where if you even look as if you have to just even look as if you're anti-revo, heavy manners for you. I lived in a neighborhood and a house where mother Garyite, father revo, me revo. I am a pioneer. I go in next door teaching CP to the neighbor. My mother did not become aware of this until I worked for GBN. And she heard me one morning in the October series I used to have saying what I used to do. I am saying this to say there was a lot of secrecy involved in what you did, because it was a kind of under-the-table sort of thing. You were taught, introduced to Marxist-Leninism and the things, because they were inculcating and growing, a sort of energy that they wanted in terms of the leadership and rulership and ruling of the country. And they started with us, the young people. And they call us the flowers of the revolution. The flowers are a lovely thing. Because it always starts with young people, Because to get to the point where you need to go, you have to change mindsets, right? And that's why the transformation here now is a challenge for us, because the majority of the generation are already set in their ways. The transformation have to work with the younger people, the young, puerile minds. So a lot of us have to dead before the real transformation can happen. This might sound a little vile, but that's the truth of the situation, right? I'm saying all of this to say, though, the revolution was a rich period of our history. We need to stop romanticize it. When I worked in the media for more than 7 years, 7.5 years I spent there, I got a really great understanding. I got tremendous information. I was even asked to not reveal some information I got because people just wanted to talk. And I felt that I got the best and the truest information from the soldiers, the men, and there were 2 women I spoke to during the period that were involved in the PRA and the militia. They had real stories of how things progressed. A lot of the leaders of the revolution seem to have things to hide, or they want to tell the story their way. Or as one of them said to me, Grenada wouldn't be able to handle. We're too woven, in terms of marriage and family and church and work and everybody too intimately woven, and we won't be able to handle the truth. You see? Because we were taken through a period where they on this journey that they were not really taking the rest of us with them. Because, the charismatic popular leader was telling the public one thing, but behind the scenes, there were plans for something else, And to get to the charismatic and popular leader, in the interest of full disclosure, I believe, at my time, as a Grenadian woman, and at this time, having reviewed most of the leaders that, that I have seen, and a lot of the works that I have read, I believe that Maurice Bishop, to me, is the greatest Grenadian political leader. Close second is Dr. Keith Mitchell. But Dr. Keith Mitchell has some time to go still, right? But Maurice is dead. So I believe that. And I used to have this very pure, almost angelic, almost kind of utopian view of this man. But over the course of the 7 years I worked in the media, I came to find out through these interviews and conversations that this man had weaknesses. He had a ruthless streak. He had some vices that were dangerous, and all of that. There was one soldier I spoke to who gave me a very tragic story of how, this man broke his heart because this man sent him to a particular place so he could go after his girlfriend. So you got to find out things about this gentleman like that. Does that take away how I feel about him? Does that take away from his greatness? No. He's a human being. He did good, he did bad, and he did ugly. And that is where we have to get to with this thing. We have to embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly. It happened. To this day, there are many Grenadians who have not recovered. They are still traumatized. On this day, you will call Grenadians that are having a very difficult time coping. Today, for many, will feel like that day so many years ago. You see? And that is part of the issue with our politics as well, because it pervades, the energy. Even some of the individuals have found themselves in the various political parties and so on. And that is why Deacon Mitchell was so attractive to a lot of Grenadians too. We have to face that truth whether we agree or not, because he did not carry any of that baggage. No Revo baggage, no Gary baggage, no Keith Mitchell baggage, no Tillman Thomas baggage. He came in as pure, and I use pure loosely, pure deacon with his transformative agenda. Does he have the support to go with it? I don't know. Because as I said, the mindset of the people in the country is one thing. And you have to go back to that time in the revolution for us to try to overcome a lot of these traumas. So I just wanted to add my voice on this day that is very difficult for a lot of Grenadians. And it is a day that we must revisit in truth, in sincerity, and with love. With love. Because there are a lot of people today that don't speak to each other, but they're only joined by the pact of a secret of not telling the truth about today. So we need to understand these things. And only when we revisit these things can we truly transform and move on. Thanks for your time, Mr. Pierre.
Thank you, caller. You're most welcome. Most welcome on the program. You see, we have to continue the discussion without adding anything. Express your view. Express your opinion. It's not about ripping anybody asunder. These things pass. It took place. It is the past. It is our history. And when you tell it, it is your perspective. So you want to keep it as simple and as truthful as possible. We don't need to sex it up. We don't need to add with ideological spin on it. Just tell it as it is. You know? So it's a welcome contribution to it. Maurice Bishop was an orator. I think I have said on many occasions, the three most politically impactful leaders in Grenada is Eric Gary, Maurice Bishop, and Keith Mitchell. But the two most successful leaders is Eric Gary and Keith Mitchell. Maurice Bishop was very impactful, perhaps the most impactful. But I always ask, did the end justify the means? And sometimes when you speak about the excesses, the comrades disagree. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about the excesses. You have to speak about it. It's not about glorifying Maurice Bishop. I have not met anybody in Grenada that hate Bishop. Not even those he jailed. Sometimes I say, what a squander of charisma. He was a very charismatic leader. 39 years. Powerful spokesman. The issues he addressed was pertinent in the international community. Oh, when you look back, you'll say, in 1976, the Alliance won 6 seats. And some would ask, why they didn't wait for another election? They might have won. But you may not have been able to do the things that you want to do when you have a free press. It's like today. And as the sister said, Deacon Mitchell came inside here without baggage. And that's why I'm so upset. Why did he have to establish Ministry of Mobilization? The last Ministry of Mobilization we had was led by Selwyn Strong in 1981. What you need a Ministry of Mobilization for? Then when people speak about it, you add implementation and you add transformation. And you said, based upon an interview that is making the wrong in social media from Tobago, that is not so much transformation, but restorative justice. And some of you directors and kingpin say it's detoxification. A lot of big words. I know you all are a lot of bright people, but you must explain what you're doing with the Ministry of Mobilization. Ministry of Mobilization, Ministry of Victimization, Ministry of Restorative Justice, and Ministry of Detoxification. And you take that and you give Andy. You come without baggage. So why you listen to the Prince of Hate? You let the Prince of Hate corrupt you at such an early stage in your life. Maurice Bishop had to battle with joint leadership. The individuals felt that the political ideology was not moving fast enough. All of them was interested in developing Grenada, but they find the methodology that they were using was too slow. Maurice Bishop agreed with joint leadership in principle, but maybe on second thought, and a lot was going on for Maurice. Maurice was a young man at 39 years, so involved in the politics. He had already costing Eugenia Charles, Mother Ann, Tom Adams, Yad Fowl, Siaga, fascist leader, James Mitchell, and he wasn't friend. He was friend with Rav Gonzalez. He had the American on his back. The Catholic Church sent to Rome for assistance. So Maurice was under immense pressure. It was a crossroad. While within the party, they felt he was not moving slow enough. All of them was young. Those guys were not even married. My man, I understand when a man married and he has his family. More often than not, he gives things a second thought. The guys are not married. They have money. They have access to vehicle. They have guns. They're in charge. Nobody to say, Lord have mercy. And they don't respect no church. So Maurice Bishop had to deal with them. While on the other side, Maurice Bishop also had to take into consideration 3,000 people go in jail. The church started to back out from him. Other Caribbean leaders must have expressed their concern. Fidel Castro tell him, no, don't bother with joint leadership. So it was difficult. And his family was in tatters. Nice, handsome, red, charismatic man. The majority of women want him. And he poor. And he hot. Wife gone. Even on the 4th, Maurice Bishop had to deal with the fact that they turned the guns on the people. Well, he brought the students. It was a common practice of Maurice Bishop to cloak himself with women and children. Make that comparison with Eric Gary. When Eric Gary called on the Tonton Makuts, he said, no children, no women. Gary never wanted demonstration with women. Don't want women around. He want the toughest of the tough. Yes, caller, welcome.
Hi, Mr. Pierre.
Yes.
You inspire me to call back again.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, women and children. As you're well aware, one of the pillars of the revolutionary movement was young people. As I mentioned before, I was a pioneer in the revolution, teaching CP, right? Teaching, older people how to read and write and that kind of thing. And that was one of the things as well, because when I was at Anglican High School on the Friday before the Wednesday, so it was the October 19th, 1983 was a Wednesday as well. on the Friday that weekend, we found out through Students' Council that the students in Grenville, it really started in Grenville. The move really started in Grenville. One named Gemma Belma of blessed memory. She was one of those that perished on the fort. She was not executed, but she was shot and succumbed to her injuries thereafter. And one still have to wonder whether she was targeted, because she was the one who really led the movement and got the students in St. Andrew, SAS, Grenville Convent, and the Grenville Secondary School, because they came to town in droves after they had gone to Pearls and other areas on the Tuesday. So by the Wednesday, they landed in town in truckloads, and that time GBSS riled up, and GBSS came across, and they got us, the Anglican High School students. And I say us because I was one of them who did not move, because on the morning, my mother warned me, said she had this dream, and if I go to school, actually she didn't want to send me to school, but we had an exam that day, a geography exam, and I pleaded that I had to go and take this exam, and she warned me, anything I see, any demonstration, anything, please do not participate. So by the time Mr. Batiste, that's H.D. Batiste of blessed memory as well, he was the principal of the Anglican High School at the time. By the time he called the assembly together, there were 12 of us Anglican High School girls standing in the assembly hall. Everyone else had taken to the streets with the GBSS boys, the Technical and Vocational Institute students, and they were on their way to free their leader. As a matter of fact, as they came up the hill, the chant was, no Jacqueline, no school, no bishop, no school. Jacqueline Kraft, they referred to, she was the education minister at the time. So I'm making the point to say that what you're saying there is that the youth, the students, they were the vanguard of the movement, and the students also, the youth was also the vanguard of the leadership, because one of the things that you said so rightfully there, many of them were young, without attachments in terms of family, life experiences, education, and or social experiences outside of this social experiment they were carrying out politically. And there were no adults in the room. There was like nobody to say, stop, wait a minute, that will poison you. And then, because of the aura that pervaded in the country, that if your talk is heavy manners, if you squawk, you go get locked up. If you blink, you go disappear. I am sure what we now call civil society, so i.e. the church, i.e., other groups, these people afraid. They can't talk. So these are the people that are supposed to mediate when children behaving bad, right? These people can't talk. So it was a really dangerous and explosive situation.
Very explosive.
And until we could truthfully, and you see, there are parallels in every time. There are parallels because human behavior is human behavior. All that changes the faces. And so if we are so withdrawn from our history and so withdrawn from our occurrences and experiences, well, how would we be enlightened when we see them happening before our very eyes? Where are we really going? So this revolution really needs to inform us of who we are as Grenadians, our resiliency, our strengths, our weaknesses, and the things we should avoid. Yeah. And I'm making the point that there must be adults in the room. I cannot be your friend and that's why I don't have a lot of friends. I know a lot of people, but I have few friends.
There must be adults.
Because somebody must say to you, hey, you can't do that. That is some shit you need to, come on, let's think about that. So there were no adults in that room. And there must always be adults in the room, and there must always be mediators in the room. Else we're in trouble.
We're in trouble.
I wanted to make that point.
Yes.
Another point, though, I wanted to make as well. In my time in the media, I think Hudson Austin died, and we missed a golden opportunity. For in that man, I believe, and I may be one of the few that believe, and I'm an optimistic kind of person, so maybe some people say I'm stupid or whatever. But I believe that with that man died a lot of what we don't know and should have known. But as God would have his way, whatever we need to know, we will know as time progresses. Maybe not in our lifetime, but I engaged him twice for an interview. The first time he was dead against it. The second time he was more open and he promised. He promised me the interview the year before the COVID. So that would have been the October of 2018. Not even 2019 yet, October of 2018. And I called him about 3 days before the interview. His voice started to break. And he told me, I need some time. I need some time. Yes, I think it's time. And I kept telling him why. I felt he was a repository on this thing. And I spoke there, I told him about, me being a young person and a pioneer and the younger people before me and, younger Grenadians who even understand what happened, what this thing mean and why people like him needed to tell us, make it part of his legacy. And I tried to speak to his heart, and I think I did. And he said, yes, he agrees. And, just give him some time. Maybe, let's try and have the interview, maybe not in October, maybe out of October, because in October he became very, it had an impact, a negative impact on his mental state every October. So I said, okay. But before I got off the phone with him on that second occasion, I said to him, just tell me one thing. Because something that happened, Mr. Pierre, I don't know if you remember, that when they released the 17 from the prison, a reporter had asked Mr. Austin about, is he going to apologize to the nation? Or some sort of question like that. And Mr. Austin's response was, who's going to apologize to me? And I remember we went up in arms, the whole country. I think, hey, apologize. I don't think that's what he meant, And I asked him, I said, what did you mean by that? Why did you want an apology from us? He said, no, I did not want an apology from Grenadians. And he gave us sort of smirk, a kind of funny, And I said, does it have to do with your position in the army? Because you were the general, you had to say certain things. Were you coerced, were you? And those went unanswered. With what words? But I got my answer, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because I believe that gentleman was saying, I had to do what I did. And it's not like I want an apology from you, but this is what it is. So I'm just saying, and it's sad that he has gone on. Yes, he has spoken. He has given some information. But I believe there is so much more that we need to garner and understand as we try to move on. So I just wanted to
Yes,
share that
thank you,
as well.
Colin. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a man who believes that you have to have maturity. I'm a man that believes when I examine politicians, I want to know if they're married. I want to know if they have children. I want to know how they're dealing with their family and how they address problems in their own community. Because if you're going to represent me at the political level, I want to know how you're dealing with your family. You bust your wife's head when she gets trouble? What do you do? How are you dealing with your children? I always interested in that. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good evening.
Yes, my brother.
Mr. Pierre, that was a real piece of revealing experience there.
Yes, and I had to give her a long break. Because,
I really touched it. When the person started speaking, I didn't catch the voice. And I was about to call you and ask you if you could reveal who it is.
No, it doesn't bother with the who, Because sometimes we have to always move away from who and deal with the message.
But in my history, I like to know who.
Yeah, but you see, one of the things we have to try is to be looking at the message. The message and the information, and not much so as the who. Yeah.
So I really touched with a lot that this lady has said. A lot. I've really touched with it, honestly. But part of what she said revealed to me too. I was working with Cocoa as a Cocoa officer in those days. And we was going to Soters, myself and a gentleman called Charlie Mola, and a gentleman driving called Anselm James that he died now. And when we reached in Waltham School, there was a lot of children outside of the school wanting to go down. That the very same day that Bishop was freed, they wanted to go down, and they chanting against the going down. And the principal was trying to prevent them from going. The principal at that time was Miss Ferguson, Jester Ferguson's wife, right? Madeline Ferguson from Sotels. And all what she do, she couldn't control the children. I remember a gentleman who is living now called Harry Duncan went up to that lady's face with a gun in his hand and tell her, if one child leave that school, I'll deal with you. And that woman was trembling because she couldn't control those children there. They're just waiting for bus. Every time a bus passed, they wanted to flag a bus.
And the children left the school?
I left the children there. But some children left, but I left the children there and we went up to work. And while we are at work, in Prospect, we understand that the free bishop.
Yeah, the Grenville, the children from convent was on fire.
Yeah, and all vehicle and whatnot going down. So my partner tell me, well, we stop work now, let we go down. When we reach in Guag, he tell me, by let we go straight in tongue. I say, if tongue come up, I'm going down. And I never went. And the night, we heard when the same Mr. Austin she talk about said, we're going to make a public address later on. And every time they keep putting up the time in, until when he came and say, there was a suit out and so person there, and he started calling the names. From that day, I respect the revolution. I was never a supporter of the revolution.
Yeah.
And I always say that the revolution did bring some good, it did something that was good, but I was never a supporter of the revolution.
Yeah. Yes, my brother, thank you very much. And I'm going to take some message from Facebook. I see my brother Onisto make a number of comments. I see he's speaking about Peter David with greater regularity. So sometime next week, I'm going to express my views, my opinion on Peter David. It seems as though Onisto wants me to speak about Peter David, telling me bring Peter David on my program. I'm certain if I invite Peter David, he will come on my program. I'll call on it. But I don't have the habit of inviting the politicians on my program, but if they want to come, they're welcome. But I'm going to express my views and opinion on Peter David and any other politician in Grenada. I express my views on them. You know, I think that is important. Onisto, so you've been regular on that, and I'm going to express my views for you. Caller on the line. Caller, welcome, and you got to punch now because we're coming down to crunch time.
Yes, well, I don't have much to say.
Yeah, yes, but welcome to hear your voice.
Brother Peter David, yeah, bring him. I want to hear him.
Well, I'm going to speak about him next
Peter
week.
David, and then the lady that called a while ago, she was working in GBN.
Okay.
I just can't remember her name. What
she gave us some good information.
Yes. So
yeah.
You all have a wonderful and a blessed day, but my head hurting me too much.
All right, you got to take a little rest on it, yeah?
Yes,
yeah. And we have this one I'm going to read. The person is saying, Deacon said at the official opening of the Ministry of Implementation and Transformation Office behind the financial complex that MIT had no predecessor. The Ministry of Mobilization, I guess, had no predecessor or parent. So to me, he was trying to mislead the younger voters. This ministry is new, and thus Andy Williams heading it because he thinks Andy is popular Grenadian. And a way of remembering ill justice. There is no need, and I think the journalists and other individuals should find out from Deacon Mitchell, why is it necessary? What is the necessity about the Ministry of Mobilization? If the party want to mobilize its organ, it's all well good. What is the purpose of the Ministry of Mobilization implementation and transformation. Because the deacon himself said that is not transformation, but is more restorative justice. And some people say it's not victimization, but it's detoxification. Deacon should explain. Deacon should say who is the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Transformation. Who are the staff members? You see, if it's a ministry of government that you open, you have to be careful. What is the constitutionality of it? You see, Maurice Bishop suspended the Constitution. So no problem, he could have made anything he want. He suspended the Constitution, he kept the Governor General. He suspended the Constitution, he had a Ministry of Mobilization led by Selwyn Strawn, I think in 1981. No other government will get involved in that. Well, we have a Constitution. So how does the Ministry of Mobilization, its staffing, the fact that you use it you establish the Ministry of Transformation, Mobilization in a supplementary budget? Why? You cannot, you're a lawyer. You cannot just flaunt the Constitution conveniently. So I think these are questions you need to be asked by those who have an opportunity to ask you a question, particularly in light of the fact that this present government decide information must be on a need-to-know basis. So, Onisto, sometime next week I'm going to talk about Peter David. I'm going to give you my views on Peter David, my opinion on Peter David, my ideas about Peter David. It seems as though you're constantly bringing it up. So I'm going to respond to it. And any other politician you want me to express my views and opinion on, I will. I always express my opinion. My opinion is not cast in stone. It is based on the information I have and my own prejudice. So if I get new information, I'm changing my opinion. And we want to thank all those who participated on the program with us today. It's very important for us to remember October is an important month in our history. October is also Child Month. And a child is a gift from God. It's also a month of the Rosary. And we are a Christian society. So we must pray more with our family members. We're having too much conflicts with family members. Man and woman fighting too much. Too much of our young boys are coming foul of the law and going in jail. So perhaps we need to pray more and have a little discussion more and settle disputes within our own families. And we want to thank you very much. We'll be back with you again tomorrow between 12 and 1. You have an opportunity to punch, but you must also share our program. Like and share our program. It is beneficial to us when you share our program on your Facebook page. Thank you very much.
The future now firmly in our hands. Raise your voice.